Today, we are exploring how to properly calibrate a temperature sensor using the melting point of ice as a reference for 32 degrees Fahrenheit. When properly prepared, this solution is accurate enough to ensure valid readings of the sensor down to the 10th of 1 degree. For this example, we're going to use a thermally insulated mug, but the same ratio and method should work with pretty much any container, so long as there's no outside interference. It's more important to get the solution mixed in properly in order to have an accurate reading for our sensor. For the ice, we start with small cubes. This should be no larger than an inch, and ideally about 1/2 inch squared. These are just ice tray cubes that have been crushed by hand. Then we'll fill the cup about 80% full of ice. Next, we're going to add some water. You can use most types of water for this exercise. Any water that's considered potable should serve as a good analog. Once the water is poured in, we'll pack the top with ice, eliminating as much empty space as we can. We simply drill the hole matching the probe diameter into the top of this cup. Ensure the temperature sensor you're calibrating is properly hooked up to our system and that you know which input channel it's on. While each job is custom made for our clients, the general path for getting the calibration screen is the same. From the main menu, select Setup, Calibrate Sensors, Dynamic, then key down to the sensor being calibrated. In this case, we have a suction temperature sensor on channel 8. Now that you're connected to the system and looking at the temperature sensor in M&M's calibration screen, insert the probe into the top of our vessel, keeping it fully immersed and centered in the water solution, ensuring it's away from the edges which could cause a bad reading. You'll see the temperature begin to approach 32 degrees on our screen. It should equalize in about 90 seconds, but for this example, we left it for 3 minutes to show you the varying temperature over time. Once you have a nice, steady temperature reading, any variation from that 32 degree set point can be reset to exactly 32 degrees. Just enter 32 on the keypad and hit Save. You can go back into the dynamic menu by pressing 1 and make sure that value stays around 32. That's it. Your sensor is now calibrated to 32 degrees. It can be removed, cleaned, and put back into service. It's worth noting that this calibration is for sensors that are working properly and within their spec. In most cases of sensor failure, there's either no reading or the sensor reads a static number of its minimum or maximum range. In this case, calibrating the sensor will not make any difference.